Yeah, I wrote this last night for a friend of mine, for a few friends of mine. But from my own experience, this friend of mine was just feeling real bad. Female friends lately feeling suicidal to some degree in their PMT cycle, where the natural egg and the yearning for new life, but in that cycle the egg don't ignite. No new baby's going to get born this time around this month. And it's been a really heavy season in between a solar eclipse and a full moon eclipse these last few weeks. And in some way deeper cycle, we're having to empty out, having to let go of our old lives, because those old lives are so full of pain. But in order to let go of the pain, we've got to cycle through it. And the pain's got to come up. And the things that are pushed down in our memories that we can't remember have got to come up. And they're coming up, and it's trauma. And it's wounding from childhoods. And this whole year, for me, has been all about childhood pains coming up. And making the space to actually feel deep down. Have things come up from deep down that bring anguish and loss and isolation and hopelessness and depression. So, fair play to everyone who is, and fair play to everyone who's holding on to dear life. These people I see who are holding the greatest pain and having to heal it means having to feel that you can never heal it. Because that's part of what needs healing. Is the feeling. The feeling we can't be healed. These friends of mine, they give so much to everyone else. They give so much compassion to everyone else. And yet find it impossible to see themselves with that same level of compassion. And that's because of something called guilt, which isn't even a feeling. It's an outer imposed program. Sucking in the blame. Sucking in the feeling that we deserve to be punished for something we can't even remember. Yep. Same for all of us, though not all are feeling it. Not all are yet letting go of their past self-images. Our past selves were formed from childhood, and all childhoods had times where we were unfairly framed and blamed for things that weren't our fault. Like circumstances and happen chance things. A father who didn't show up, didn't keep his word, was too busy, or just too closed, or selfish, or broken, or whatever it may have been. And a mother, at the end of her tether, who lashed out in a moment, where it all got to be too much, and she couldn't contain the pressures of motherhood, the relationships, the money worries, the debt letter that turned up in the letterbox, the straw that breaks the camel's back. And she lashed out, and the child was there, and took the blame, and took it to heart, and the words lodged, even though they weren't really meant for you, and weren't really even true. We've all got these voice recordings in our mind, our mammalian mind. The inner critic's broken records, churning in subconscious feeling, memories that we don't even remember, but are just lodged in the eaves of the roof in a perpetual winter that never got a chance to thaw out. Because sometimes our parents weren't perfect. They had their own adult problems recurring from their own inner childhood guilt programs passed down through the generations of trauma and imperfect experiences. But the difficulty is that all children think that their parents are gods, and we must trust and take it to heart, the bad with the good. And these days, these traumas are all surfacing. And the grown-up that I have become needs to speak with the inner child that's travelled with me through my whole life, that's manifested from my soul, that carries the ancestral traumas of my own past lives. And my soul chose this life path with all these peculiar inbuilt triggered traumas. I chose my parents with all their specific flaws, combining in ways that were more like two ships crashing into chaos, more so than two ships passing in the night. We each got to learn to remember to speak to our inner child with the level of compassion that we would speak to someone else's child if we came across a child who is hurt and blamed and shamed and defamed and abandoned. We wouldn't say to the urchin, "You deserve to suffer for the rest of your life." We'd offer some solace. We'd listen deeply. And with compassion and patience and prayer, we'd offer support and the hope of a resolution. We'd sit and give time. And we'd say, "Hey, it's okay. It's past now. And I'm sure what happened can be resolved." And we'd teach that life has the inner natural tendency to heal. That, like when we fall and scrape our knees off the concrete floor, and the skin is broken, and the trickle of blood is messy, and the clothes are torn, and the pain is anguish. But here, hold your hand over the scraped skin, and breathe through the pain, and know that I am here with you. And nothing else is more important right now than to give you the time and the support and the love and the company and the kind words that soothe. Our parents weren't perfect, nor our school teachers, the priests, our friends, the bullies, our abusers. We've all picked up psychological scars, and these days, these scars are uncovering instead of recovering. Be wise. Take some time, all the time, to realize that our inner child is still carrying pains from wrongs that truly were not our fault. Learn to answer the inner critic with honest self-love and soothe the child self that we were forced to abandon when we were told to grow up. The past traumas and ancient wounds that are resurfacing these days, needing healing, not recovering. Make some time in these days to give love to the exiled parts of our childhood experiences, and invite the inner child to have a second chance at life. Now. Now there's a life growing from the ashes and the dregs of the catastrophe that the outside world is pretending to be okay. Let yourself rest. Really rest. Deep rest. If you don't make time for yourself, then you're going to continue to break down until you get so depressed that you will have to take deep rest. Best to be wise and realize That the healing doesn't take time. It needs to be given time. We don't need to take love. We need to be given love in order to be able to receive and accept love. It's not so easy as it might sound. It's not so easy to do for ourselves, the advice we can give to others so easily. Or else we will continue the program of refusing love by judging ourselves unworthy of love, worthy only of the continuing suffering of the guilt. We are all born innocent, every single one of us. We have all had guilt projected upon us in our youth and compounded upon until the program installed itself into our lives, our masks, our bypassing and our repetitions. Let the mask fall apart, at least sometimes. You will truly be surprised to find that the inner child is still a bundle of joy, and that the miracle of life that made life is capable of loving joy. But for now, give yourself a chance to heal, a moment to rest, and re-evaluate what you really value about yourself, not just what you've been programmed to expect and to accept. Let the inner heal, and the outer will reflect that healing. Our whole lives can turn around. Miracles manifest when we let our whole self be free from self-judgment. Be kind, kindred heart.